Morning to you, watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
And it's time to go through the papers now. And joining us this morning is broadcaster and host of Blethered podcast, Sean McDonald, and writer and commentator Candice Holdsworth. Good morning to you both. And Candice, we're going to start with you because you're a redhead, aren't you?
Yes, yeah.
Tinge of red, I say.
Well, it's changed colour, yeah. I mean, as you get older, it sort of gets a bit darker. It's even got a bit of blonde in it.
It's a lovely colour.
Well, thank you.
Chestnut.
Thank you.
Have you learned to love your colour?
So this story struck me. So this is the story in the Star, which is that redheads. So there's a study done by some hair colour company that redheads love to learn their hair colour by about the age of 20. So then they sort of settle into it. But when they're younger, they do face a lot of bullying. And so you find they try and dye their hair colour, don't like it, can feel a bit negative about it. And I think it is something that comes with age. Like with me, now that my hair's sort of getting a bit darker and losing its red, I do feel like I've lost my identity a little bit.
But why? What I don't understand, I've never understood, why is it that redheads get stick?
I'd love to know. Is it just because it's different?
It must be a genetic thing, though. There must be something about redheads where we go, oh, that's different.
Yeah, and it's the colour red. Maybe the colour red ignites some reaction in people that, you know, other colours don't, maybe. I mean, some people attribute it to maybe prejudice towards Irish immigrants as well. It could be some of that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it. I mean, you go to places like Italy, they love red hair. They've got no issue with it. So maybe there is something cultural. There's a cultural component. Both my children...
So a proper copper top.
Yeah.
You know, those people who've got really copper hair.
I know. Both my children do as well.
It's stunning, isn't it?
Yes. Although, I think it's easier as you get older and you become more confident in yourself. But when you're young, a lot of people, when they're young, just want to fit in.
Yeah.
So it can be difficult. I mean, I had a boy in my class who had red hair, and then by the time he was a teenager, he was dyeing it black.
Right.
He just wanted to hide. He didn't want to have red hair anymore, which I think is such a pity.
It is. Just all embrace our natural colour.
Was that aimed at anyone in particular?
Let's not comment on that.
Sean, should we have a look in the mail? This is the TikTok troublemaker Mizzy. He's now bragging that police are never going to get him.
Yeah, this is this wee boy, Bakari Bronze O'Garo, and this is exactly what he is, just a wee boy. For anyone who's unaware, this wee guy has been putting out videos on TikTok in the way which he's been, he's defining it as pranking people, but it has been videos of basically intimidating people, going up to them, asking if they want to die, attacking Orthodox Jews, threatening young women late at night in a train station.
Really?
Stolen old women's dog in the park, and that's his shtick, asking do they want to die. He has been up in court, I think what was it, like I can't even remember the...
Is it Thames Magistrates Court?
Yeah, Thames Magistrates Court. So what was it?
Community protection notice that he broke.
Community protection notice.
Basically an ASBO.
Yeah, and he basically was up for disturbing the public peace, or however you would define it. He took part in a TV interview the other night and basically just laughed in the face of the law. I think he's going to have a severe, serious comeuppance coming his way soon. It might not be at the hands of the law. There's a lot of people saying that we shouldn't discuss this, that we shouldn't talk about it, we shouldn't give him exposure, and I do understand that point. However, I think it's good to have his face out there so that people recognise him if they come up to him. It's just absolutely depraved, and I think even his own family have kind of disowned him at this point. There's a lot of talk about should he be extended sort of compassion, or should people be trying to help him? I don't think so. He's just basically laughing in people's faces. He said, it's not my fault that the law is weak, and he's basically vowed to continue doing it. And I know it may seem uncouth or a wee bit.
Is it not illegal? I mean, if he's like pinching an old person's dog or saying you're going to die,
honest to God,
actually breaking a law.
You would assume so, and you would think that the Met Police would be clamping down a lot harder, but they're not. And I think there should be sustained public pressure for there to be some sort of repercussion. He even said the other night, this was what really got my back up. He said, I don't understand why people care, because it's not as if it's happening to them. That shows me that we're dealing with a psychopath, because the reason I care and everybody everybody else cares, is I don't like to see people being bullied. I don't like defenceless people, because he picks his targets very carefully. There's no way he's coming up to me. There's no way he's going up to somebody else who's going to actually do something back. He's very careful in who he picks. And yeah, he's going to have a severe comeuppance, whether it's at the hands of the police or whether it's at the hands of a genuine nutcase.
Yeah.
It's he's honestly a vile wee guy.
I mean, I was in court for this on, I think it was Wednesday, and the judge fined him £365. It's the only thing that she could do. It's just a financial penalty that she could impose. So £365. But his lawyer was very quick to say, oh, he's only on universal credit, so he won't be able to pay anything. He doesn't actually have any income. So he's paying it back £30 a month. So something like £1 a day.
Yeah.
And when he was sat in court, he was in a black hoodie and a white COVID mask, obviously just kind of sat like this. But the second he stepped outside and there were cameras, we were all there, feeding the beast, you might say, he'd taken off the hoodie and taken off the face mask, and he was happy and smiling and he's really enjoying it.
Pathological attention seeker.
Well, yeah. Did they not make money off TikTok?
I think so, but his account has been shut down for months
Shut
and
down.
Wales. Now, the fact that you've got a foreign social media app who are acting more swiftly than the police, I think it speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's in no way a free speech issue. I mean, what he's doing are criminal acts.
Yeah. I mean, the trespassing into a house,
Oh, God.
you would
Into
think
someone's
would be
house and
criminal.
sitting there.
Just sat, yeah, and only left once they explained that they had young children. So, and you do worry about, you know, with the followers and likes and now being in the newspapers, and we're talking about him now. I mean, will he feel like he needs to do something even more outrageous now to get more content and more followers and likes?
Yes, yeah. These people exist and they sort of exploit social media, but they don't know where the line is and they always go too far and they burn themselves out completely.
Well, I think the bottom line is he's 18 and therefore stupid.
Yeah,
Basically.
he's been criticised from all quarters, even tried to blame it on being black, and then you've had some prominent black commentators come out and say, like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And what he's doing, I believe, is he is diminishing actual cases of racism.
Oh, yeah.
But he's emboldening genuine racists, so he's across the quarter, he's just creating enemies.
It's making it worse.
Yeah.
Candice, to some more positive news, actually, in The Sun, which is claiming that our gas and lecky bills are going to drop by the best part of £500 this
Yes.
summer.
Oh, thank goodness. Aren't we all pleased? So this story in The Sun is basically about how energy bills are starting to fall by about an average of £426 per household. The only other bad side to the story is they're still twice the amount they were 2 years ago. So we're kind of stuck with high prices for a long time. And who knows when they'll fall back down to where they were. But at least it's some relief for people battling with food prices at the moment, mortgage costs. Just even a little bit when financial resilience is so low is a good thing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, but you do wonder why it's just going to take a long time, isn't it?
Yes.
It's going to take a long time. Am I getting the nod that we have our... Oh, we don't have it. We were hoping to talk to Nick Thomas Simmons, the Shadow International Trade Secretary, but he's not popped up in time. So in the meantime, why, Sean? Why? Now this is just, I mean, even I had quite a good lockdown, right? You know, I quite enjoyed it.
What did you get up to, though?
I didn't get up to anything particularly bad, but you know, I quite liked being at home, enjoyed the countryside, I live in a nice place, I could enjoy the countryside, the roads were quiet, all that sort of thing was all very nice. However, it still worries me when the Telegraph says the WHO, the World Health Organization, could force us into lockdown at some point in the future.
Yeah, I think that's quite a misleading headline, and I think the fact it's in the Telegraph should be the first indication of the type of angle that they're coming from. Basically, the sort of mention or proposal is that member states would be obliged to follow the agency's instructions when responding to pandemics, including border closures, vaccine passports and quarantine measures, if they are part of a new sort of agreement. Now, I don't necessarily think that is a completely terrible thing. I think I hate even saying this phrase, but it was such an unprecedented global event, and it took us such a long time to have, in terms of a structure, a response, vaccine rollout and that type of thing, because one of the other things, right, this is very telling, one of the objections from the Conservative MPs who've written to ministers to warn about this is that they fear that governments could be forced to hand over basically the intellectual copyright for vaccines. So that's money making, if you're trying to gatekeep something which is essentially a health issue. That was a real issue for me back then, when there were countries or companies that were unwilling to share these vaccine formulas. Now, if we'd have been able to have that done a lot faster, we could have seen a much better rollout. Of course, we don't want anybody to be forcing us into lockdowns, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
So what do you make, Candice?
See, I always think you need democratic debate depending on the country you're in, and different countries are going to have different ideas about how they want to solve these things. I mean, with the lockdowns, most countries did kind of follow the same protocol. You had a couple of outliers like Sweden who took a different approach, and I think people need to be able to do this voluntarily. I don't know if I like the idea of compulsion from a supranational body, just on a philosophical level, but also I think it can cause a lot of problems in the country you're in, especially England, where people there's a strong democratic tradition in this country.
Interesting. I'm sure you've got a view on that. gbviews@gbnews.uk. Thank you both very much indeed. It's been good to see you this morning.
Yeah, really good to see you both. Thank you very much.